Welcome. This is Patito's gang. Rough times in our country, surely. But there are some good things that we can take away from things that are not so welcoming in the manner of speaking. The youth of Nigeria seem to have awoken. Why did they go to slumber? What's fueling their reawakening? Can they sustain engagement and becoming part of making our country work? Today, the gang is going to try and throw some perspectives out on these developments. As you can see, it's a morning mood still. People are in black. How did the sacrifice move things forward? How can the sacrifice continue to keep things going? How did the youth come to wake up?
Well, wake up is a strong term, but there was a response. There was a reaction to a stimulus, and in many ways, it was quite a fortuitous chain of events, as it so often happens. But for the 5 minutes that it lasted, and I was part of it too. I actually got on a plane to Abuja to go get my backside whipped by the police too, and for those few days where we were in the streets, it genuinely felt as if we were shifting the needle. We were actually doing something.
Taking your country back.
We were. Where I think things might have been better handled was with regard to just generally what was the plan. It was a brilliant move, I thought, to have a leaderless protest, to have a decentralized protest, but something which I always maintained that we didn't take into account was the fact that the government, the state, the Nigerian state, and particularly that the current administration in charge of the Nigerian state, is filled with military strategists, right, who see everything in binary. So everyone is either a friendly or a hostile. So we were designated as hostiles, as enemies, to be defeated. So there had to be a contingency plan in place for that, and it didn't seem there was any plan. So then they set a trap, and apparently we walked right into it, and then it ended the way it ended. So, well, this isn't to say that it failed. I don't think it failed by any means, but the things we were hoping to achieve after getting the concessions of ending SARS and reforming the police and all those things, we didn't quite get to have that conversation with the government because I think that bit was poorly handled. However, the fact that we have established that there is that threat of civil disobedience, the fact that we have showed the government that young Nigerians can actually be engaged in this manner, that we can sort out our own fundraising in a way that you can't control. We're using cryptocurrency to do it. We can sort out our own logistics. We can organize in our hundreds of thousands instantaneously. So
Indeed, one of the points that I tried to make in one of my comments is the Nigerian youth are a global tribe, and they can asymmetrically engage any public authority from around the globe. And you saw that happening. They can reduce the Nigerian government to a pariah, a global pariah, by just coming from everywhere around the planet. And once that has been established, once that Rubicon has been crossed, I think anybody who governs Nigeria will have to be more careful in that regard. But where was the root of the, we still stay with the word awakening? Because for a generation, I criticized young people. In my time, my famous story is, I didn't remember it was my 18th birthday until 8:30 on that day, around 8:30 p.m. But that passion I saw kind of dissipate. What happened? Why did the youth of Nigeria become less interested? Because, not to talk too much, if at 18, you are not, quote unquote, a revolutionary, something is wrong with your heart. If at 40, you still are, something is wrong with your head. How did we get here?
I would like to say that I feel the youth just didn't feel like what they had to say mattered. The truth is, everybody talks about, we're having a conversation earlier about how they were so interested in Big Brother. The truth of the matter is that when they vote on Big Brother, it counts. They can see where it's coming. If you want to keep Kidwaya in the house, you know what you need to do. Talk to your friends, talk to their friends who would vote in. But in Nigeria today, I go to vote and somebody will come and take the ballot box. It does not matter what I do, whether I vote, whether I do not vote, it doesn't count. So why should they get involved in that kind of process? Of course, it's very demotivating and demoralizing for you to think that, that you would like your country to be better. But if I have no say, I have no voice, how do I even begin to engage? More than that, how do I even begin to engage with people who do not even have the tools to begin to engage with me, who do not even want to engage with me? You understand? Mm-hmm. So you have, I have a niece who said to me that, she's 22, and she says to me that, that auntie, you've got a country that is made up of old people who are third world, who don't understand that the children of this country are first world. That whole idea that, that because we're poor or because we're a developing country, it no longer holds, because the phone has brought everybody together. Everybody, it's a global village now. Everybody is together.
For me, it's an attitude thing. The same old thought that they should give you the best of education. What was in their mind? The same old elderly thought they would rather go hungry without clothes.
Can I cut in here, sir? You're talking about the top 10% of Nigeria. The remaining 90% did not give their children the best education.
Sorry. Even if it is 1%. The point I'm trying to make is that, yes, the avenues were set. Part used to be as young as you are, also had the best of education, came back with that fleece, spoke over time. People did not hear. And my ABC of strategy tells me that it is when you have a roadblock, you must have a way of finding,
getting to the other side.
Not just to the other side, stay on the other side, and then show the passport and show these renegade people, the 80-90% that you are talking about. But I think what has happened, in my view, is the fact that we've packed the youths with a lot of energy, a lot of knowledge. We assumed that they didn't know. They knew. They were taking their time because culturally we said, take your time, be respectful to elders. They kept on saying to us, well, we don't think things are moving on fine. And then you find people in the middle class and say, hey, go to school, don't join them in the strikes, be careful. Your mothers will always come and say, oh, that's not what I sent you to school to go do. Well, I think they didn't move with David, essentially, when your age group, Generation X, Generation Y, Generation
Z, whatever,
got pinched from the international arena. When Mr. President went out and said that Nigerians, generally of which 80% are youths, are fantastically, not just corrupt, lazy. And like you also said, we always look at it and say, maybe Nigeria, that is the time that votes begin to count. Why is it that way? It's because technology has been enabled. So for whatever reason, that favor to say, they say I'm lazy, daddy, mommy, they say I'm lazy, I know what it takes, never again. Pat, remember that frame when you said never again.
Yeah, that's what started the June 12th one.
And then we went on, and then we took a circuitous turn, so to speak. Either because, like Sigmund Freud would say, you just got tired of things.
That's the point of it. You see, there is a point. There's a famous researcher from the 70s at University of Maryland called Ted Gore, who wrote the book Why Men Rebel. Mm-hmm. People would take things, and it gets to a point. You see, you've been giving all these big boulders on them, and they are going, okay, they want feather. Boom.
So in this case, the spark that made the fuel, A few weeks before this happened, the president had just signed the new Police Act into law, and I actually wrote a review of that Police Act, and the content of the act went sort of viral on social media. And the act had been marketed as a reform act that would stop the police from doing the things that we know them for doing, and instead it did the exact opposite. So already there was that feeling of what the hell is going on. And then there was a viral video from, I think it was Ugeli.
Yes, there was with the boy.
And that was the match that met the fuel, and everything just went up.
That leading up to that, there were several videos that had been coming up systematically about you know, over the last year, they've been building up. You've been seeing lots of videos. There was that footballer that was thrown out of a car by policemen and they took off with the guy in the corridor. There were so many different things that had been, you know, and I just think people were just tired. They were just tired. It was the kind of thing where this continues to happen. It continues to happen to us, and nobody is saying anything. If nobody is saying anything, why don't we say something for ourselves? I even don't think the organizers of the protesters themselves even thought that it would carry so much. It would be so. Nobody actually envisaged that it would be so. It would be so. You know.
Probably didn't think that was because the people who started the protest were actually middle class people.
Yes, of course.
So usually when that happens, it's usually like a few of us.
It's a few.
You know, Lekki toll gates kind of
yes,
thing.
let's do
And
nice
then
and
for
fun.
some reason, it just.
But you see, a very interesting part of this failure to be analytic is that it's the middle class who have certain kinds of consciousness who will start this thing. They are not sure they can sustain it. Yes. And you want to just swoop on them, which is the mindset of the ruling class in Nigeria. Yes. If we bully them, if we go and shoot a few of them. Yes. I've been with them when they make decisions and I know what they do. Shoot a few of them, they will all go back to their homes. But they didn't know that they were awakening the bigger majority that are so angry. Yes. And boom, we destroy what we had built over so many years. And we begin to call them hoodlums. But we created the hoodlums. Yes. We, the politicians, we made those hoodlums powerful. Anyway, how are we going to get the youth to become more articulated? Stephen R. Covey says, the most important habit of the 21st century is helping people raise their voice. How can we help, as young people, get people to raise their voice in a more systematic manner that they cannot be taken for granted again?
For me, let's acknowledge the fact that the youths have done what we never believed in our lifetime. Professor Wole Soyinka will say wasted generation, and I'm sure if you pinch Professor Wole Soyinka now, you'll say, yeah, I'm proud that within my lifetime, a set of protests can come. They are going to give a 5-point, even Michael Imodu at his time, just name them, has never achieved a situation
what
where...
young people achieved within a few days. Well,
how are we going to help them? Let's praise them for it. I always preached intergenerational cooperation, learn from the wisdom of the elders, the bones and the strong bones and the great will of the youths. This is now the time.
Let's take
to
that
now
great
say
will.
we can be different.
Go to a break, fortify ourselves, and show direction when we return. This is Patito's Gang, and we'll be right back. We are back, and this is Patito's Gang. And our course today is towards finding how we can institutionalize a process of people finding their voice in Nigeria. The youth of Nigeria have given Nigeria a great gift by raising their voice in a systematic manner. They found a 21st century way of bringing together Mahatma Gandhi and Martin Luther King Jr. How can they sustain making their voice clear? Let's be clear about this. They are the majority of this country. And if policy making does not reflect their will, it cannot be referred to as a democracy. So how can the young people of this country sustain the momentum of what they've started?
David?
Well, from my point of view, the most important thing is to maintain this political engagement that has started now. One thing I tend to dislike, I'm a journalist, so I have sort of like an inside track into observing how my contemporaries engage with politics. they engage with it in a sort of like stop-start manner.
Staccato.
There are hills and then there are valleys, then there are hills and then there are valleys. It's not supposed to be like that. There should be a plateau. It should be constant. So it should, for example, we need to understand that political engagement doesn't just start and end with elections. You know, there are as long as you live in a democracy, you need to be constantly engaging. You can't get tired of your news cycle. You can't say news is boring. You know, you can't be aloof in any way because everything is connected. The price of rice is political. You know, everything is connected to the governance system.
They've lived in a country where they say, what does he want? That Patito, what does he want? Why is he always complaining? That's Metropolitan Club. Yeah. They are sitting, 70-something-year-olds, instead of being ashamed of themselves that they've let down their children and their children's children. Hey, that Patito, what does he even want? When they've lived in such a country, how should they engage this system to make them realize, beside the point you've made, democracy is consistent engagement to hold power accountable. If you don't hold power accountable, it will, absolute power leads to abuse. And that's what the police came to be.
Generational power shift. Paradigm shift. Let's come to terms and tell ourselves the truth. Yeah, the aged will not expect, to be made to look like nincompoops. I agree. But the scorecard is out there. We failed them. So, and if you failed, you must come in humility either to repeat or say, please, I don't think I know enough. Can I put you out there to go out there and go represent us well? That's one. Secondly, Pat, I am convinced beyond reasonable doubt, and I don't know where you are going to situate this within our democratic ethos. It is time that the youths take up the leadership of Nigeria. In 1 month, they proved to us they had competency, they had capacity, they had accountability. We had situations where they got themselves into. However,
see, Aki, this nonsense about, they are young. I said, look,
not again.
It's nonsense because they're better educated than you and I.
And
they are more exposed to the world. Technology is supporting them. So if at 27, I could be in a presidential advisory position, these guys can be at 22.
They are also very compassionate. Did you see what the youths did?
Yes.
In a preachment that we have failed for years. You want to come and attack me? No, you don't need to attack me. I'm taking care of you. Please come on and take. And then the lady was weeping. I never believed I could see that from you.
One of the reasons, my interpretation, that things went the way they went after the real organizers were stopped with that Tuesday, whatever it is called, the shooting, was that those ones that they call miscreants and hoodlums who used to come and eat free food during the rally suddenly didn't find it. So they went.
They unleashed them into
So it shows the beauty of intelligence of the young organizers of a protest.
Yes.
That those in positions of public authority in Nigeria did not seem to have recognized.
I want to say something. Sorry to interrupt you, David. I want to say something. I don't think it's as simple as saying that you want the youth to come and take over political leadership. I don't think, I'll give you a typical example. If anybody had listened to Yahaya Bello's interview today, that's a youth. Yahaya Bello and I think about the same age. That's a youth. It was horrifying to say the least. So I'll put that aside. You have the people, sorry to interrupt you. No, sorry to, no, he's not. Let me explain why. You've got Yishau and Obanikoro, who are both youth, who represent Lagos. Yishau is responsible for this place where this happened. Nobody has seen Yishau. Yishau has not said a word. He is a youth. Personally, I believe, and honestly, my thought is that he should be recalled. Him, Obanikoro, Remi Tinubu. Because these are people who sat there, watched while this happened, and did not think it relevant for them to come the day after, to come 2 days after. Obanikoro came on the background of Femi Gbajamiamila coming to Lagos, and he was just standing in the background, didn't even have anything to say, considering the fact that this is his constituency. He's a youth. So it's not, sorry sir, let me explain. I think that what it is, what we have here, there's several things I would like to talk about. There was a video that went around about the Youth 1 and the Youth 2. You've got the fact that you've got the people who are the ideologists, the ones who are the intellectuals, the ones who are thinking it through, the ones who knew that, okay, we need to set up funding here. We need to provide feeding. We need to provide healthcare. We need to provide ambulances. We need to provide XYZ. They were the ones that thought it out. However, and then you've got the youth too, who are coming to eat, coming to be safe, coming to sing, coming to smoke some weed from time to time, and then, you know, just trying to have a good time, but understanding that this is for their own good. These are the ones that the political elites have engaged constantly. These are because they know that they can use them. These are the tools that they can use. The problem we have today is that engagement between Youth 1 and Youth 2, and this is something that the older generation created because you took your kids and said, oh, you're going to take them abroad, you're going to do this, you're going to teach them differently. What has happened is that there is a schism between the two. You don't speak the same language. And so long as that schism continues to remain, you will continue to have this problem of there being a staccato type of engagement. Because the bulk, the force that you need is in the youth too.
Always be a problem even within the youth. There's no doubt about that. In fact, when you said you expected some people to have showed up, everybody was in stupor. No, hang on. Let me make my point. Everybody was in stupor and in some kind of belief. I'm not trying to make excuse, no. But by the time they now came together, came to their senses, what is this happening? What kind of quote and unquote revolution is happening to us? To find their voice. Haven't said that.
Why were they elected?
I agree with you.
Why were they elected?
I agree with you.
If they can't find their voices.
Hang on. I agree with you.
They should go home and find their voices.
Absolutely. No, it doesn't happen that way.
They should go home and find their
voices.
voices. When they get home and find their voices, they can come back.
These are some of the things we need to, and that's why I talked about intergenerational cooperation. Now, they used to
she's just made a very important point about recall.
They should recall
if people begin to recall people like that.
If you know that there's if you know there are consequences for your actions or your inaction.
Even the process matters, even if you don't succeed. The process sends a message.
The convoluted system that we have, and this is where I have to now say this to the young people. You will always have problems, but by talking to some of the elders who share your vision, who share the way you are looking at things, it helps a lot. Even the tonality. Let me make my point. Let me make my point. Sawi. It is not every person that you see over 50, 60, or 70 that you think that haven't gotten the mind of youths.
Okay, great.
I'm in my 60 and I think so very passionate about what you have done. I am already telling you that a lot of the things that you've shown to us, and I'm saying the generational shift should be such that we should give you people democratically a chance.
Has thought more passionately of where we are and says we've got to go.
So having said that, kudos to the youths. Let's keep it up. Like Kenny Rogers said, know when to deal, know when to stop, know when to choose your leaders, know when to trust that you can choose leaders.
I know when to go, and it is now. And that says, hey, this conversation does not have to end here. Look at our social media handles being scrolled right now. Let's keep this conversation going. I think that we've started something as a country. We may finally have a democracy where the majority's voice or voices, whichever way you want to play in there, collectively or individually, get to determine the track the country travels. We'll see you next week.